September the 11th, 2001, a tragic date that's etched into history. During the horrendous attacks on the two towers, a man appears on the north tower. He starts guiding people down the stairwell to safety. He lifts and carries the unconscious to safe areas. Others say they see him climbing up the towers, seemingly unaffected by the heat and the smoke. As soon as the survivors reach the ground floor being directed by this mysterious man, they turn to thank him, but he's gone. He's nowhere to be seen, and later this man was dubbed the Angel of the Stairwell. During the tsunami of the Indian Ocean 2004, multiple survivors report seeing a man swimming against the current, completely unaffected by the monstrous waves. He's reportedly pulling people to safety before disappearing underwater and popping up elsewhere. The force of a tsunami is so powerful that it should have been impossible for anyone to move like that. Yet several survivors are on record insisting they saw him, saving lives. There's the well-documented story of Angela Cavallo. April 1982 turned into a nightmare when a 1964 Chevy Impala collapses on a teenage boy. His mother, Angela Cavallo, runs outside, and with no time to think, she grips the edge of the car and she lifts it. She lifts the car, and witnesses report that she held it up long enough for neighbours to pull her son out to safety. Again, a feat that should have been impossible. Pure adrenaline, or something more? History is littered with tragic events, but it's also littered with incredible survivor stories. Stories where people seem to display superhuman abilities in the midst of danger, or where mysterious beings appear guiding people to safety before disappearing. These mysteries hold actions that are way beyond our understanding and are observed by many victims without explanation. What truth and what meaning do these stories hold? Under extreme stress and during tragic events, can the human brain cause mass hallucinations? Is it a case of adrenaline phenomenon? Can humans unlock hidden strengths, often referred to as hysterical strength? Does this point to angelic or supernatural beings? Divine interventions? Some people say it's secret experiments, proof of individuals enhanced or trained in ways the general public never knew was possible. Some of these stories have fueled rumours of real-life superheroes, or perhaps all of this is just exaggerated folklore. Tonight we share some of these amazing rescue stories and ask ourselves, what is the limit of human potential? Let's get into it. You are watching Mysteries Retold. In 1917, a cargo ship carrying explosives ignites in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. Before the event, residents report seeing a tall man in a dark coat running from building to building, warning people to get out immediately. After the explosion, children who had been trapped in the burning buildings said a large man, wearing a long dark coat with glowing red eyes, had pulled them to safety. This man who'd been seen before the disaster was navigating the area with ease. He was unaffected by the heat. There were extensive sightings of this man, and many survivor interviews, but he could not be identified. No bodies were found matching his description, and it's as if, as soon as he'd pulled the children to safety, the man vanished. We know that traumatic events can profoundly alter our perception of reality. It forces the brain into a heightened state of awareness as it scrambles to process chaos. In these moments, time seems to slow, senses sharpen, and individuals often recall experiencing events in a surreal, almost dreamlike state. This phenomenon is well documented in near-death experiences, where survivors report seeing vivid, otherworldly visions or feeling an overwhelming sense of clarity and purpose. These accounts challenge our conventional understanding of what is possible, suggesting that under extreme conditions, the human mind and body may tap into hidden reserves of strength, perception, and resilience. Is all of this just an illusion of the mind, or do humans truly possess untapped potential? Science tells us that we only use a fraction of our brain's full processing power at any given moment, and that our muscles are often restrained by neural inhibitors that prevent us from accessing their full strength, except in life or death situations. Some researchers do believe that under extreme stress, these biological safeguards are lifted, allowing individuals to perform amazing feats of strength, endurance, or awareness. As we said, there were well-documented cases of people lifting cars off loved ones, running vast distances without exhaustion, or making split-second decisions that defy logic. All of these acts under normal circumstances aren't really possible. Beyond physical capabilities, there's also a question of heightened mental abilities. Moments of intense trauma have been linked to sudden bursts of genius, enhanced memory, or almost a supernatural level of intuition. Some survivors describe exactly knowing where to go in a burning building without having ever seen a layout or feeling a powerful sense of guidance leading them to safety. Could the brain, when pushed to its limits, unlock abilities we don't understand? While skeptics do argue that these experiences are simply byproducts of adrenaline and cognitive distortions, the sheer volume of these types of stories and near-death experiences make it difficult to dismiss them entirely. So, do we have any scientific evidence of humans performing feats that would be deemed impossible? Well, the answer is yes. There are some pretty incredible people out there. You might have heard the story of Wim Hof, otherwise known as the Iceman. Wim Hof climbed Mount Everest in only a pair of shorts, and he swam underneath Arctic ice and sat in a freezing bath for nearly 2 hours. Scientists ask how, as his breathing techniques defy medical science. He's able to control his body temperature and his immune system, perhaps giving a glimpse into untapped human potential. You might have seen some of the documentaries about the man who can run without stopping. His name's Dean Karnazes. Sorry if I've butchered your name. But Dean ran 50 marathons in 50 days and once ran 350 miles without sleeping. His muscles don't seem to produce fatigue-causing lactate the way that most people's do. Scientists have tried to explain this, saying it's likely a genetic mutation that allows his muscles to flush out fatigue-causing toxins extremely efficiently. Another really interesting one is Michael Latito, also known as Monsieur Mons 2. He's the man with the iron stomach who ate a plane. He literally ate an aeroplane. So he's got an extremely rare condition called pica. This enables him to eat items and objects like metal and glass, and he even ate an entire Cessna 150 aeroplane without any harm. Monsieur Mons 2's stomach lining is unusually thick, and his digestive juices are extremely strong. He sits within the Guinness World Records for this amazing ability. It's easy to get caught up in what we see around us, but history and experience, as well as some of the people we've just mentioned, show that humans can transcend the ordinary to the extraordinary in many ways. Some of this is tied into genetic mutations or medical conditions, and it allows people to survive extreme conditions or be pushed beyond physical limits. Other instances, survival instances, could be fueled by extreme luck, where a seemingly impossible situation turns out to have an improbable solution. In the face of trauma or a crisis, it's often revealed just how much resilience the human spirit possesses. The human body, in the most extreme moments, can tap into reserves of energy and strength, mental fortitude, and it leads to remarkable feats of survival. However, while medical conditions and genetic differences can explain some of these amazing stories, there are other events that seem to challenge boundaries of what we understand. What about the moments that are really inexplicable? We have stories of large groups of people witnessing something that just seems beyond comprehension. It could be an unexplained mass event like mysterious lights in the sky, or extraordinary acts of strength or speed that no one can replicate. It's not possible. All of this does raise questions that science will struggle to answer. In these cases, where human potential or the universe itself seems to operate on a level beyond our understanding, we're forced to confront the limits of our knowledge. Could there be something greater at play in the universe? Something beyond rational understanding? Whether through faith, mysticism, or the unknown, these events leave us questioning not just the nature of human potential, but the fabric of reality. During the Oklahoma bombing in 1995, survivors report seeing a man, in black, calmly pulling victims from the rubble. He's lifting huge stones, huge amounts of debris with ease. When the paramedics arrived and asked who he was, he simply walked away and disappeared into the chaos. No one knows who he was, his description didn't match any first responders, and again there's no official record of him. Was it another person with amazing abilities? Or was it something more? There's a famous story from World War I where British soldiers were fighting in the Battle of Mons and claimed that they were aided by a mysterious figure who again appeared out of nowhere. He was described as tall, luminous, and had an otherworldly presence. Witnesses say that he single-handedly held off advancing German forces before he vanished into thin air. There are accounts that refer to this figure as the Angel of the Mons, suggesting in this case divine intervention. Others believe that he was real, but an unrecorded super soldier, whose abilities far exceed those of a normal man. We've already shared the story from September the 11th, when survivors report a man helping them down the stairwell, unaffected by heat and smoke, lifting unconscious people to safety. Apparently, he moved effortlessly, but when survivors reach the ground floor and turn to thank him, he's gone. There was another set of reports from the Costa Concordia disaster in 2012. That was the luxury cruise liner that ran aground off Italy after hitting rocks and quickly starts to sink. So there was a portion of passengers that became trapped in a submerged part of the ship, and air pockets are running low. An unknown diver then appears wearing no diving equipment. He guides several people towards an escape route, and then even carried an unconscious woman through the water. Again, once the survivors reach safety, they look for the rescuer, but he was gone. They say that he was spending vast amounts of time underwater with no equipment. Official records show that no divers were deployed at that time. Maybe mass sightings of superhuman figures during traumatic events are just a result of the brain's desperate attempt to process chaos. Psychology does suggest that extreme stress can trigger collective hallucinations or memory distortions. It kind of blends hope without perception. Skeptics argue that these figures are misidentified Good Samaritans, that actions are exaggerated by fear and awe. But what if the answers lie beyond science? Do you think hidden protectors walk among us? Maybe they do only reveal their abilities when the world needs them most. The truth is elusive, but these stories always persist. I guess one possible explanation lies in the way that our brains process high-stress situations. Psychological studies show that during moments of extreme stress, the brain can alter perception, filling in gaps in reality to create order out of chaos. It's known as perceptual completion, where the mind constructs images based on expectations and emotions, rather than objective reality. If multiple people in a crisis are desperate for hope, they may unknowingly reinforce each other's beliefs, leading to a shared vision of an extraordinary figure. It's known as collective hallucinations, and it's been documented in historical events, such as religious apparitions and mass sightings of mysterious lights or figures flying through the sky. False memory formation can also shape these stories. In the aftermath of trauma, human memory is highly malleable. As survivors recount their experiences, details may become exaggerated or altered, especially in cases where people were still in shock and struggling to piece together real events. Over time, small inconsistencies fade, and it leaves behind a story that feels undeniably real to those who experienced it. Another different possibility is that these figures are in fact real people performing impossible feats, only that they're not supernatural but rather experiencing hysterical strength. In times of extreme danger, the human body can override its normal limitations, and it unleashes what seems like an extraordinary power. This well-documented phenomenon of adrenaline-fueled superheroes, superhumans, has led to accounts of mothers lifting cars to save their children, as we heard earlier, individuals running at high speeds beyond their normal ability, and survivors enduring impossible physical conditions. Could it be that these mysterious figures are ordinary people, accessing abilities hidden deep within all of us? And if that is the case, why do they vanish? Well, an explanation is that these rescuers, upon realising what they've done, retreat, overwhelmed or unwilling to face questions about their abilities. Moving into the more controversial, there's theories that these individuals could represent people that are trained and genetically enhanced in ways unknown to the general public. The concept of hidden operatives, whether military or government-trained agents, or even subjects of classified experiments, has fueled speculation in the past. Stories of soldiers displaying inhuman endurance, individuals surviving extreme conditions without injury, reports of classified programs aimed at enhancing human performance lend some weight to this idea. Could these mysterious figures be part of an experiment to test the limits of human potential? And if so, their disappearances might make more sense. For some that believe in divine intervention, these figures may not be human at all. Many survivors describe their rescuers as glowing, appearing out of nowhere, and having an aura of calm amid a disaster. Religious accounts throughout history tell of guardian angels, or supernatural beings appearing in moments of crisis. Could it be that what we might perceive as superhuman is in fact something beyond our understanding, a divine force? And finally, it's possible that these are just stories, and although really compelling and brilliant mysteries to talk about, they're simply modern folklore. Again, throughout histories, cultures have passed down legends of heroic figures who appear in moments of need, from ancient gods disguised as mortals to wandering saints performing miracles. Or maybe these modern accounts are just extensions of humanity's age-old storytelling traditions. They could be shaped by our need to find meaning in tragedy. Or maybe they are remnants of a forgotten truth. Maybe something extraordinary does exist among us, waiting to be discovered. One thing we can't get away from is that despite the various explanations, these stories are not isolated. They span different countries and different decades and different disasters, and they all follow a really similar pattern. Impossible rescuers, mysterious figures, and they all disappear without a trace. Whether they're a result of psychology or hidden human potential or secret experiments, divine intervention, they challenge us to reconsider what we believe is possible. What if we're not just imagining these figures? And what if in times of our greatest need there are beings, human or otherwise, who walk among us, revealing themselves only in moments of crisis before slipping back into the unknown? Perhaps the answer isn't whether superhumans exist, but whether we are ready to acknowledge them. From impossible strength to superhuman endurance, could this be the first signs of evolution? Or do we walk among something not entirely human? Perhaps, just perhaps, the truth is stranger than we dare to believe. And maybe this power sits within you too. And that's not bad to think about. Tonight I'll leave you to ponder the possibilities that remain unexplained. Thanks for joining us. You've been watching Mysteries Retold.